Hello and welcome back to art class. Today we're going to need quite a few materials for our project. Most of it should be just kind of household things or things that you've had. You're going to need 2 pieces of white paper. You're going to need some glue. And you're going to need a pencil, an eraser, a ruler. It could be just a straight edge. That'll work too, as long as it's very, very, very straight. But rulers are the best way to go with that. You're going to want a cup. Something like this. You're going to want either a sticky note that's a square, it doesn't need to be a square, or you could do what I did where I found some Lego pieces that I had a Lego square piece here, or you can actually make a square with your Legos that way. So that'll work as well. And you're also going to want something that's a rectangle. Here I used a Duplo, which is those big versions of Lego. That'll work, or what I can do is I can actually use the bottom of the box here of this crayon box to create a skinny rectangle as well. So there's just different things you can use around the house. These are just examples, so if you have something else that would work better, you're more than welcome to do that. All right, the first part of this is focused on getting the paper ready, because we need a big piece of paper. So what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna glue these 2 pieces of paper together to make sure it's big enough to do our picture. So what we're going to do here is they're going to overlap, and you're going to use your glue, and you got to be careful with the amount of glue that you use. Glue will, if it's too thick, will actually make this really hard to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to add dots of glue, very small dots of glue. We're going to use several of them. Okay. Then I'm going to close the glue, and then I'm going to use the tip of my glue that's closed to actually spread the glue out to make it very, very thin. It makes it stick better to the paper, and it has less bumps when it dries, so it'll be much flatter. Okay. Then I'm going to overlap the papers a little bit. Try to make sure they're nice and even. And you're gonna have to let this dry for about 15-20 minutes, because you really don't want to work on it while it's wet, because it'll end up just working. So let it dry, and then we'll come back to the next part. So you could probably watch the next part just to know what's going on while you're waiting for it to dry. Okay, we're back. And so my piece of paper is now dry. What we're going to be doing is we're going to take the idea that we did with the 3D cabin, and we're going to take it one step further. What we're going to do is we're going to make 3D shapes on our paper looking like they're exploding out from the center. In order to do that, I needed a bigger piece of paper to make this a little bit easier, and we're going to need to do some folding. So first is you're going to fold it in half the long ways. So nice crease, and open it up. Okay, really good. Then you're actually going to need to fold it in half the short ways, the book way. This will be a little bit trickier because the fold will actually be right where it glued together. This is another reason why you have to wait till it dries to do this part. Otherwise it's going to want to come apart. And this is going to be a little bit trickier to fold here, so just take your time, make the fold look good. Open it up. And now we have the center of our paper, which I'm going to mark. In fact, I am going to do it as a Sharpie marker, just so you can see it better in our video here. So I'm going to do it nice and dark with a Sharpie. That is where the 2 folds crisscross. That is the very center of this now big piece of paper. Okay. This is what we call a vanishing point. The vanishing point is the point at which if you look at something that is close to us and then also goes very far away, you'll notice it gets smaller, and its vanishing point is where if it went so far away from us, it would look tinier, 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 until it looks like it vanishes. I want you to think about the train tracks we have here in our town, or any set of train tracks. If they're nice and straight, up close, they're pretty wide apart. But if you look the further back you go in space, they start to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, so that is what the vanishing point is that point where everything gets so small it looks like it vanishes, which is why we call it the vanishing point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the letters VP right there so that I know every time that I need to go to the vanishing point, I know that's where it is. Okay, so our first thing to do is we are going to go in and we're going to trace our square. So I'm going to take one of my squares that I got. This will work really good. And I'm going to put it up here, half on this side, half on this side. So the fold's like going right through the middle. And I'm going to put it pretty close to the top of the paper. It's about a finger space away from the top. And all I'm going to do is trace it. Need to get that corner. There we go. So now I have a nice square. Beautiful. Set my stencil off to the side. Next thing is we need to make it look like it's going, like exploding out from the center. So this is how you do it. It's pretty easy. When you have shapes that have corners like this, the square has 4 corners, it is really easy because it just means you have to line some stuff up and draw some straight lines. So I'm going to take my ruler and I need to look at my shape. If this shape was solid, if it was a solid object, like my cup is a solid object, I could grab it, I couldn't see through it, okay? So I can't use every corner because some of the lines would cut right through the shape and that won't look right. But I look at it, I can use this corner. That can go straight to the vanishing point. I can use this corner and that can go straight to the vanishing point. It's not touching or blocked by anything. If I go from the top here, it would cut right through the middle of the shape. That's not good. If I go from the top of this one, it would do the same thing, cut through right through the middle of the shape. So I'm only gonna be able to use 2 corners and I'm gonna draw them right to the vanishing point. Make sure you actually line it up. If the line doesn't hit the corner, it's not good. Don't curve it. Get your ruler on there and make sure it's nice and straight. So actually connect the 2 spots first with the ruler, then draw the line. It's really important that it looks nice and straight and goes like it's supposed to. Okay, next, what I want to do is I want to do another shape that has corners. I'm going to use my square again, and I'm going to turn it like a diamond. Okay, and what I'm going to do is we're not actually going to be doing a square. We're actually going to be doing a triangle, but I want to show you something. What I want is we're going to do it like this. Let it hang in the back corner a little bit over the edge here, and I'm only going to trace this side and this side, like that. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make a nice straight connection between the 2. So now I have a perfect triangle. Notice the point of the triangle is like right on that fold. Okay. All right, so we're looking at the shape. I want it to look like it's exploding out from the center, so it's going to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it gets closer to this dot. If we look at it, how many corners does a triangle have? It's pretty obvious. It's got 1, 2, 3, right? But how many corners can I use going to the vanishing point? Well, that's always a good way to check. Take your ruler. Can I go to this one? Yep, totally could do that one. Can I do this one? Yep, totally could do that one. Can I do the top one? Yep, totally can do that. None of those are in the way. There's nothing blocking it. So that's what I'm going to do. Make sure I actually line everything up first. There we go. Looking good, looking good. Okay. So now we have a triangle, we have a square. I would also like to do a circle. I'm going to use the smaller part of the cup because it's going to fit better down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it like this, about a finger space away from the edge. And carefully trace my circle. Okay, so now I have this nice circle right here. Now, if we look at the shape Circles are a bit trickier because if you look, there really isn't a corner on it at all. In fact, that's one of the reasons why circles look the way they do, is they don't have corners. So this is a bit trickier, not much, but a little bit. What we do, instead of going to the corner, we're gonna go to its very outside, the very edge that we can reach with our ruler. So I'm gonna take my ruler, put it on my dot, and I'm gonna make sure it hits the edge. I can't do this. This would look bad. I'm gonna draw it and I'm gonna erase it, but just as an example of something wrong. If I do it like this, that's not really to the edge of my circle, so it needs to be done correctly. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line up the edge of the circle, the furthest I can get. Like that. It's right to the edge. If I go any more, it's just I'd have to curve the line, or it would just keep going like that. And we're not allowed to curve the lines right now. Okay, so that's one side, but that still doesn't look very 3D. It doesn't look like it's exploding out. So I need to do the same thing to the other side. Now it looks like it's coming out. It also kind of looks like a person wearing a hat. Or if you turn your paper upside down, it also looks like an ice cream cone. All right. Okay, next we're gonna go back to our square. And I actually do want you to turn it like this, kind of like what we did before. And we're just gonna trace it. Oh, need to fix that corner. Okay, so there's my square. It's turned, it almost looks like a diamond. Now, on this square here, we had two lines that went to the vanishing point, because these other two would have to go drawn right through the thing. If you look at this shape, how many lines can it actually go to the vanishing point? Okay, well, we use our ruler and we can find out. So let's look at the first one, the bottom one here. Can totally do the bottom one, it's not hitting anything. Let's go to this one. Totally can do this front one, not a problem. Let's go to the back one here. Can I do the back one? No, because it would cut right through the middle of the shape and we're not allowed to do that. And then let's look at the other one, the top one here. Could I do that one? Yes, I could. It would fit really well right inside there. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna draw my three lines, it'll look a lot like this triangle. Like that. Okay, I think between gluing and finding all the materials that you're gonna need, this is a good place to stop today. We'll finish it up. We'll work on it next week. We're gonna have some more shapes for these empty spots. That's where some of the rectangle stuff will come in. And I will see you next week. Please make sure that you upload a photo of this so I know that you got this far. All right, I'll see you next week.